Hi, I'm Chris, guitar tech and luthier here at Austin Bazaar. On this DVD, we're going to go over how to tune, play, and maintain your guitar so you can get the most out of your purchase. This DVD also includes a chord dictionary which you can use to learn how to play different chords. We recommend that you watch all the chapters of this DVD consecutively to get the most out of your experience. For now, we'll give you everything you need to be familiar with your new instrument, so let's get started. In this section of the DVD, we'll be focusing on the anatomy of the guitar and the key differences between electric and acoustic guitars. The guitar frame is comprised of three main parts: the body of the guitar, which produces the tone, the neck and the fretboard, which are used to play chords and solo notes using various finger positions, and finally the head or headstock of the guitar, which pulls and locks the strings into pitch. Since many people play guitar using a pick guard is often attached to protect the body of the guitar. The strings are anchored to a plate called a bridge located just under the sound hole. The guitar strings exit through the body and rest upon the saddle and follow up the fretboard until they come to rest on another piece called the nut. The nut elevates the strings away from the neck and separates the strings as they continue up the head. The strings are then attached to the tuning keys found on the headstock. The tuning keys are turnable dials which secure the strings on your guitar. Depending on the direction you turn them, you can raise or lower the pitch of each string. This is the process used when you tune your guitar. We will go over this process in a later chapter. When you look at the fingerboard, you'll see a series of frets that define and separate the sections of the neck. Each fret is used to establish the pitch of a note. You can produce notes by playing the strings open, like this, or you can create different notes by pressing down on specific fret locations. Fret locations start from the nut going down toward the body of the guitar, starting with fret 1 nearest to the nut. Many guitars also have dots on the fingerboard called fret markers. Each one is used as a reference point so you can easily locate the fret positions while playing. If you compare a traditional electric guitar to an acoustic, you will notice several similarities. Both have strings secured to a bridge, both use tuning pegs, and both contain a series of frets positioned across the neck of the guitar. However, when you take a closer look at both acoustic guitars and electric, you will find differences in the parts of the guitar and how they produce sound. Acoustic or steel string guitars produce tone naturally without the need of an amplifier. When the strings are plucked, the vibrations produce sound naturally through the body and sound hole of the guitar. The sound of an electric guitar is produced by magnetic pickups, which essentially act as microphones for your guitar. These pickups transfer sound from the vibrations of the strings to the amplifier. The pickup switch allows different pickup configurations, which enables you to produce a variety of tones. First position activates the neck pickup. Second position activates the neck and middle pickup. Third position activates only the middle pickup. Fourth position activates the middle and bridge pickup. Fifth position activates the bridge pickup. Now I'll go through each position and play the same riff so that you can hear the difference in tone. As you heard in the demonstration, using different pickup configurations gives you the ability to alter your guitar's tone. We encourage you to experiment with these configurations to find the tones you like best. Whether you play acoustic or electric guitar, it's important to know what the strings are made of, the thickness of the string, and the note associated with each string, because when you break one, you're going to need to know how to replace it. Each string is identified by a note name: E, A, D, G, B, and E. They're also identified by the thickness or gauge of the string. For example, on this steel string guitar, these are the associated diameters of each string. Different types of guitars, such as electric, acoustic, and classical, feature strings made of various types of material. Electric guitars typically feature nickel strings, whereas acoustic guitars will have bronze or brass strings. Classical guitars use nylon strings. Strings are sold in categories of superlight, light, medium, and heavy. Lighter gauge strings are easier to play and produce a lighter tone. Heavier gauge requires more pressure to play, but they offer a heavier, warmer tone. The packaging of your strings contains the information you'll need to replace one string or the entire set. We recommend you keep it handy for reference. Over time, strings lose tone, and grime can build up on them. Therefore, you should replace your strings regularly, even though they haven't been broken. You should replace your strings at least every 3 months. Holding the guitar in the proper position reduces tension in your neck and back. It also makes it easier for you to position your hand while playing. The basic guidelines for holding a guitar are the same whether you're sitting or standing. Your left hand is placed on the neck of the guitar with the thumb behind the neck to support the hand, and the other fingers are placed on the strings. In this position, the left hand can move freely up and down the fingerboard, and the right hand falls into a natural position over the body of the guitar. When you play the strings, the motion can come from your elbow, which is common when you're strumming, or you can use the wrist when you're playing single notes. Try to play relaxed and keep from tightening up your arm. Finally, when it comes to the position of the guitar, the neck is always slightly tilted upwards, never downwards. Electric guitars have 2 strap pegs, one for each end of the strap. Attaching the strap is easiest if you first put the guitar on your lap. Then you attach both ends of the strap to the pegs. Place it on your body and make your size adjustments. You can set the strap high or low. Any length is fine as long as it feels comfortable. If you're playing a steel string guitar and there's no strap peg on the top part of the guitar, you can tie your strap to the headstock using a string. You'll tie the strings above the nut and under the strings around the back of the headstock. The other side is attached to the peg on the bottom of the body. You should also adjust the length of your strap so that you can play comfortably without strain on your shoulders, arms, or back. There are various ways you can play the strings on your guitar. You can use your fingertips, fingernails, or even your thumb. Most musicians prefer to play with a pick. A good way to hold the pick is between your thumb and your index finger, with the tip of the pick pointing outward to pluck the strings. Picks are available in a variety of styles and thicknesses, but what pick you use is really up to you and your personal preference. For beginners, we recommend getting a variety pack so that you can try out different types and see which you like best. The capo allows you to shift the entire pitch of the guitar so that you can play your songs without having to learn new chords. The capo acts as a movable guitar nut, shortening the overall length of the strings and raising the guitar's overall pitch. To attach the capo, squeeze the spring-loaded trigger, put it over the desired fret, and release the trigger slowly. For the optimum result, make sure the capo is as close as possible to the fret, but not on the fret, and is set as tight as possible. After attaching the capo, you can play the same song using the exact same set of chords, only higher on the fretboard. The capo is now acting as your nut. The pitch will shift up, in this case 4 steps, because I have placed the capo on the 4th fret. Let's take a listen. Although all amplifiers are somewhat different, they all share a few common characteristics. On your amp, there will be a 1/4-inch input jack for you to plug your guitar into using a 1/4-inch cable. It will also have an on-off switch and a volume knob, along with tone controls such as treble and bass. Some amplifiers also include built-in effects which can alter or distort your guitar tone. Many amplifiers also include headphone jacks, so you can plug in and play without bothering anyone. You can add a tremolo bar to your electric guitar to create some interesting guitar effects. This bar is also called a whammy bar. The metal arm extends beyond the body of your guitar, and when pressed down, it adds a vibrato or pitch bend effect to the sound. The effect occurs because the bridge is being bent up from the body of the guitar, in turn loosening the strings and altering the pitch. To attach the bar, simply screw the bar into the hole on the bridge of your guitar. Don't screw the bar on too tight. Some guitarists like to keep the bar loose so it doesn't get in the way of their playing. There are different ways to use the bar. For example, you can strum a chord and press down on the bar repeatedly to create a bending tremolo effect. Or you could use the bar to bend a single note, creating a wild pitch bend effect, like this. Guitars need to be in tune to sound good. If there is one string out of pitch, the entire instrument will sound off, even if you're playing every note correctly. Guitars also go out of tune over time due to temperature and humidity, so that is why it's important to always tune your guitar before playing. We'll start the tuning sequence with the 6th string, which is an E note. The 5th string is set to an A note. The 4th string is tuned to a D note. The 3rd string is tuned to a G note. The 2nd tuned to a B note. And finally, the 1st is also an E note. However, the pitch of this E note is set 2 octaves higher than the E on the 6th string. If you're a beginner, tuning your guitar without a tool or method may not be easy. Using a digital tuner is the easiest way to keep your guitar in perfect tune. We will demonstrate how to tune using a clip-on tuner which should be attached to the headstock of the guitar. There are many varieties of digital tuners available. No matter what type you use, the process will more or less be the same. You tune the guitar by adjusting the tuning pegs on the headstock until each string produces the proper pitch. Tightening the string will raise the pitch, and loosening the string will lower the pitch. To begin the tuning sequence, first play the 6th string, or low E string. Now it's time to move on to the next string. As we mentioned earlier, the 5th string will be tuned to A. You will repeat this process, matching each string to its corresponding pitch. When all the strings are in tune, you're ready to play. If you're using a tuner that does not clip onto the headstock, you will need to plug it into your electric guitar using a 1/4-inch cable. If you're using this kind of tuner with an acoustic guitar, just be sure to keep it near the sound hole while tuning. You can also use 5th fret tuning to tune your guitar. This technique is also called relative tuning. With this method, you use one string on the guitar to produce a reference pitch for another string. Let's try it out. You should begin with the 6th string to start the tuning sequence. To tune the 5th string, you create the A pitch as a reference point on the 6th string. You do this by playing the 5th fret position on the 6th string. Then play the A string open and try to match its tone to the A on the 6th string. The The fourth string needs to be set to the D note, which you produce using the 5th fret position on the 5th string. Then play the 4th string open and match the tone. The 3rd string needs to be set to the G note. You produce the G note by playing the 5th fret position on the 4th string, then playing the 3rd string open and match the tone. The 2nd string needs to be set to the B note. You reference the B note by playing the 4th fret position on the 3rd string and matching the notes. The 1st string is set to the E note. You produce the E reference note by playing the 5th fret position on the 2nd string and playing the 1st string open until you match the note. Practice this a few times. Relative tuning can help you if you find yourself without a tuner. However, using a digital tuner is the easiest and most accurate way to be sure that your guitar is in tune. You should change your guitar strings on a flat surface like a table or desk. We advise that you lay down a towel or some other kind of padding to protect your guitar during this process. The main thing you need is a pair of wire cutters. To speed up the process, we also recommend using a string winder. These are available at most guitar shops. You will also need new strings to replace those that you are removing. First, lay down the guitar on your padded surface with the strings facing up. Using your fingers or a string winder, loosen up the string to be changed by turning the appropriate tuning peg. You should feel the string getting less taut as you turn the peg. As you loosen the string, you can tug at it with your other hand until it exits the string post completely. Most string winders come with a handy notch that can help you pull out the bridge pins that hold your guitar strings in place. Simply wedge the notch under the bridge pin of the string you are trying to change and force the pin upwards until it pops out. Now you can remove the ball end of the string. Make sure you have the right string before you begin putting a new one on. Your new strings should have that information listed on the package. Note that one end of the string has a ball while the other does not. Be careful with the open end of the string as it is sharp and could cut you while you change your strings. Make a small bend about an inch from the ball end of the string. This will help the string settle into place under the bridge. The bridge pins on acoustic guitars have a notch in them which help keep the string in place. Insert the ball end of the string past the bridge plate. Next, put the bridge pin over the string so that the string fits in the notch of the bridge pin and pull tight. Before running the string through the hole in the string post, you'll want to be sure the hole is pointed towards the guitar's nut. Once you have the hole of the string post facing the nut, thread the string through the post and pull the string tight. Next, take the string from the nut and pull it back 1 fret. Next, push the string down between the nut and the post. This will allow you to wind from the bottom of the post up. Be sure to wind the string to the inside of the post rather than to the outside of the post. An easy way to remember this is to take the excess part of the string that is going through the post and make sure that it's going over your finger. As long as the string passes over your finger while winding, you'll be able to achieve a proper coil. You should tighten the string until it is completely coiled around the post 2 to 3 times. Once the string is coiled completely around the post 2 to 3 times, you can cut the string as close to the hole as possible. The last step is to tune up the new string. You are now ready to play. You should change your guitar strings on a flat surface like a table or desk. We advise that you lay down a towel or some other kind of padding to protect your guitar during this process. The main thing you need is a pair of wire cutters. To speed up the process, we also recommend using a string winder. These are available at most guitar shops. You also need new strings to replace those you are removing. First, lay down the guitar on your padded surface with the strings facing up. Make sure you have the right string before you begin putting a new one on. Your new strings should have that information listed on the package. Note that one end of the string has a ball, while the other does not. The ball end feeds through a hole on the bridge, while the open end will be attached to the tuning pegs. Using your fingers or a string winder, loosen up the string to be changed by turning the appropriate tuning peg. You should feel the string getting less taut as you turn the peg. As you loosen the string, you can tug at it with your other hand until it exits the string post completely. Once you have removed that end of the string, you can snip off the other end using the wire cutters. You can now turn the guitar over and push the ball in through the back plate and remove the rest of the string. Insert the open end of your new string through the same hole in the back of the guitar and pull it through the front until the ball comes to rest inside the body of the guitar. You can now lay the guitar down again with the strings facing up. Before running the string through the hole on the string post, you'll want to be sure the hole is pointed toward the guitar's nut. Now pull the open end of the new string up the fretboard and through the appropriate notch in the nut. Thread the string through the string post hole and pull it tight. Next, take the string from the nut and pull it back 1 fret. Now, push the string down between the nut and the string post. This will allow you to wind from the bottom of the post up. Be sure to wind the string to the inside of the post rather than to the outside of the post. An easy way to remember this is to take the excess part of the string that is going through the post and make sure that it's going over your finger. As long as the string passes over your finger while winding, you'll be able to achieve a proper coil. Once the string is coiled completely around the post 2 to 3 times, you can cut the string as close to the hole as possible. The last step is to tune up the new string. You are now ready to play. A chord is 3 notes or more played together. Single note playing is often called the melody or a solo. Two different notes played at the same time will produce an interval and is often referred to as a harmony. But when you're playing 3, 4, or even 5 notes at the same time, you're playing a chord. Specific notes played together produce different chords. For example, to produce a C major chord, you require these 3 notes: the C note, the E note, and the G note. C, E, and G always make a C major chord. When you're trying to produce a chord on your guitar, you place your fingers on specific fret locations so that when you strum, only the notes of that chord are heard. Chords can be played using different playing techniques. You can strum the chord and hear all of the notes at once, like this, or the notes of a chord can be broken up over time and still clearly define the notes of the chord, as in this arpeggio. Or you can break up a chord using a pattern, like this. Any way you play it, you're still creating the tonal structure of a chord. As a tip, when you're playing a note, place your finger at the top of the fret. This will allow you to produce a clearer sound. You'll find that different chord types offer different tonal personalities. For example, major chords always sound pleasant. Listen to this example of 2 major chords played back to back. Minor chords sound somber and sad. Listen to this example of 2 minor chords played back to back. Here's another chord type, a 9th chord. This chord type has a more jazzy sound. Take a listen. The goal here is not to teach you about every chord type and how they're constructed. As a beginner, you don't need to know what an E major 7th, 9th, or even a diminished chord is. However, it is important to introduce these concepts. Reading and writing chord names is an invaluable skill. Chords are often written in a kind of shorthand that is easily recognizable and allows you to play them using different hand positions. Here are the basics. Chords in a song are usually indicated above the melody staff line. The uppercase letter is the root or name of the chord. Whenever you see just the letter name, the chord is always a major chord. When you see additional numbers and letters after the name of the chord, you're looking at various chord types. Some are simple, and some are more complex. So how are you going to learn all of these chords? Well, unless you're a professional jazz musician or a very advanced player, you don't need a bunch of complex chords to make you sound good. Just knowing a handful of chords enables you to play thousands of songs. The most commonly used tools for reading and playing guitar chords are chord diagrams, also referred to as chord charts. Chord diagrams are miniature illustrations of specific positions on the guitar's fingerboard. Each diagram contains information on how to make a chord. You'll often see these above the melody line in sheet music or in a songbook. When you compare a chord diagram to an actual guitar, you see the diagram is meant to represent 6 strings of the guitar crossing over a set of 4 frets. To define the strings, we assign numbers to them: 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Next, we need to indicate which frets of the guitar are being used. They are numbered as follows. In this DVD, we will keep the chords we play limited to those that can be played on the first 3 frets of the guitar. These are called the first, second, and third fret positions. Using this diagram, we can teach you how to produce chords by showing you where to press down on the neck, which fingers you should use, and which strings to avoid playing if they're not included in the chord. To use this method, you first need to learn about how we number fingers. The fingers of your left hand are numbered as follows. Chord diagrams include circles with numbers so that you know which fingers to use on which frets to make each chord. For example, this is what the chord diagram for a C chord would look like. You would use your third finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, your second finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and your first finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. The last part of the chord diagram designates which strings are played or not played. Obviously, the ones being held down will produce the note of the chord, but what about the remaining open strings? For this, the diagram uses O's to designate any open strings you would play, and X's to mark any strings you should not play. In this case, the diagram indicates you will not include the 6th string in the C chord, but you will include the 1st and 3rd strings. So let's recap. A chord diagram shows the following: the 6 strings, fret positions on the neck, the notes of each chord and which fingers you should use to play them, and the play or not play status of the open strings. Let's take what we just learned and play a few common chords that you'll probably come across as you learn to play new songs. This diagram illustrates the first chord we are going to play, a G major chord, often called a G chord. Take your second finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. Next, take your first finger and put it on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. Lastly, put your third finger on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. Make sure all of your fingers are curled and are not touching any strings they're not supposed to. Now let's try playing the C major chord. Place your third finger on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. Now put your second finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Finally, put your first finger on the 1st fret of the 2nd string. Here's where you have to be slightly careful. When playing a C major chord, you do not want to strum the 6th string. Now that you've learned to read a chord diagram, we invite you to move to the chord dictionary so you can learn to play new chords.